I enjoyed it very much. It was interesting, it was different, and it lowered the tone, lowered the mood beautifully on a Sunday afternoon. Hopefully people there, perhaps they've fallen asleep in their deck chair.
Well, that's what I thought, it kind of chilled out.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, Joe, we have to rush on because I want to try and squeeze in a giant cover version of Gimme Shelter before the end of the show.
You go rush on.
Thank you very much, Joe. We really appreciate talking to you. Thank you.
Bye.
Oh, Joe was a lovely woman, wasn't she?
Yeah,
I thought she was great. We should put her in the file of good callers, which is getting quite large now. So yes, we're going to rush on to Gimme Shelter. Ruth Copeland was a kind of woman who was originally from the North Country. She moved to the States. She's got a big R&B voice. She worked with George Clinton and Funkadelic. Some of the members of Funkadelic feature on this giant 8-minute funk rock version of the Stones' Gimme Shelter. Thank you to Sammy. Thank you to Harry. We'll be back next week, and we'll leave you with this. Gimme Shelter. Arctic Monkeys' Fluorescent Adolescent, which is released as a single on the 9th of July. Welcome along once again to the Steve Show with me, Stephen Merchant. If you're a new listener, let me explain. I've very much modelled the Steve Show on the literary and philosophical salons of 17th century France. Back then, of course, an inspiring host such as myself would bring together people who would amuse each other, but also educate each other, refine their cultural tastes, expand their knowledge of the world. To that end, my guests and I will be sharing our tastes in music and sharing tidbits which we hope will inform and enlighten you, the listener. There are some differences, obviously. In 1620, at the salon of Madame de Rambouillet, all the famous poets of the day gathered to compose a collection of poems, later entitled Guerlain de Julie, whereas later on today's show I'm going to be telling you how I made a pub toilet overflow after a particularly steamy curry. So it's not quite the same, but there are many elements which are familiar. I've been told in the past that I have to keep this opening link short because otherwise, people now with the MTV generation and their 3-second attention spans will flick over to another, perhaps a rival commercial station where they can hear Cher and Simply Red. So we'll move on straight away to Gang of Four, and then we'll be back shortly, and I'll introduce my coterie, my salon, if you will. From 1978, post-punk pioneers Gang of Four and their first single, Damaged Goods. It's a Steve Show, BBC Six Music, with me, Stephen Merchant. And as I mentioned before, I've very much got a salon, if you will. Here are people with, like-minded music tastes, who will be introducing me to songs during the course of the show. And let me introduce them to you. The far corner there, it's Banker Harry. Good to see you.
Right, Steve, yeah.
I'll come back to you shortly, Harry, but
nice.
Just to say quickly, are you well?
I'm very well. I'm
Good.
very well.
Thank you, mate. Thank you.
A few minor concerns, but generally okay.
Are you going to bring them up later?
Yeah, I will.
Okay, thanks very much for sharing those
It's good to
later.
have an outlet.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to talk. Next to him, of course, one of the poshest men on the planet, and he's there's no shame in that as well, which, in this modern world, of a classless society, you'd like to think he'd be a little embarrassed, but he's not, which is very strange. It's Rufus.
Hello, Steve.
So posh.
I think the listeners will realise that I'm not really that posh, but I'm playing up to it for comic effect on the radio.
I'm not sure that's true. Last week we were speculating on why you weren't here. I couldn't remember. Is there a reason why you weren't here?
I'd love to say it was a Buckingham Palace garden party.
Right.
It wasn't.
You're
was
actually
just
shooting.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Yeah, no, I was in Brighton, at a housewarming in Brighton.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because before, of course, one time you after the show you had to go home because you were making some pheasant stock. And you say you're not posh, you're just playing up to it. Fantastic.
You see, every time I do tonight, you do get me banged to rights.
Yes, exactly.
That's a bit of a problem.
And next to Rufus, of course, adding a bit of female charm. Is that sexist? Possibly. It's Sammy from Newcastle.
Hello, everybody.
I file trademark that people can identify with, and all I can think with you, Sammy, is that you're Newcastleian.
Well, I'm Northumbrian, Steve.
Northumbrian. All right. And are you well?
I'm fine, yeah. I'm a little tired. I spent about 4.5 hours on a trampoline last night.
Really? Were you trying to break some world record?
Not even attempting it. And I was dressed as a mechanic. And for no good reason. There was no party. I had one friend in the house. We both dressed up. She took an RAF parachuting outfit, and we played on my trampoline. That actually happened. And we gorged ourselves on chocolate spread, fresh bread, and donuts.
Is this what passes for a Saturday night in Northumbrian? Or whatever you called it? I don't even know where to start. It's like we were saying that Rufus is playing up to being posh. Are you playing up to being some kind of mental case? What kind of person bounces? Who could even source an RAF outfit other than Rufus?
I found that on a popular internet shopping site.
Oh, so this was pre-planned then? Like
Oh,
a
no,
couple of weeks before, you'd EB'd this.
What, you
thought,
searched for it?
No, I didn't search for it. I was searching for an all-in-one. I wear a onesie in bed, which is like an adult baby grow type thing, and it's really comfortable. And I wanted something I could wear outdoors of a similar vein. So I put jumpsuit into said internet shopping site, and that's what I found. And I thought, I've got to have that. It's gorgeous.
You weren't tempted by some of the Elvis kind of Vegas jumpsuits, which doubtless came up when you put jumpsuit into the search
And
engine.
they did come up, but this was my size. I was a parachute instructor, and he must have been tiny.
And going to bed dressed as Elvis in his late 70s, that would be amazing, wouldn't it?
Yeah, just kind of burger juice running down your face.
Yeah.
And you thought, not only is this just right for going to bed in, but it's perfect for one of my trampoline fancy dress parties.
Exactly, yeah. So you, at what point, when you and your friend are just there, perhaps you're watching Britain's Got Talent, at what point did you say, you dragged the trampoline out and said, do you want to have a quick bounce for 4.5 hours?
It became a heart-to-heart discussion. We lay on the trampoline, we bounced, we felt a little ill. At no point did we agree we were going to do this in fancy dress. We were both wearing our pyjamas, and it was a little chilly. They were the easiest things to pull on and then off again. A boiler suit and an RAF jumpsuit.
Okay.
I don't see what
you
your
said
problem
dressed
is
as a
with this. This is
mechanic.
completely normal.
With the thighs covered in a thick layer of grime and oil, with their kind of spare kind of spanners and stuff in the top pocket, things like that.
We are going to go out one night in a similar vein. Not
You and
for
me?
any reason. But if you're up for it, yeah, let's. Come and see what it's like. Come to the dark side. Are you commoner?
I can't even begin. I mean, I don't know what people are making of this show now. If they've just tuned in, they've been attracted, to the show because of the level of glamour and sophistication that I bring to Six Music, and they've heard about some northern lass who bounces around on trampolines wearing RAF outfits. It's like some kind of crazy, surreal comedy skit.
I mean, Rachel, if you are listening, please text in just to validate that I'm not making this up. This is actually what happened with our Saturday night.
Right, I was going to ask you what's the most interesting thing that's happened to you this week. I can't imagine it'll top that. We'll come back briefly. Each week I've been playing tunes for those. I always imagine there's probably people listening on a Sunday afternoon who've had their heart broken. Perhaps they've gone through a painful divorce, and so it's obviously my duty, in a sense, as a public service broadcaster, to cheer them up in some way, or at least to share in their misery. And so each week I've been playing songs to nurse a broken heart by, and this week The Streets I've chosen, and from their first album, It's Too Late. We have moved into a tiny little studio from which to broadcast to you today because earlier on Russell Howard spilt tea apparently all over the control desk and ruined it, and I don't know if Russell's listening, but it's a basic broadcasting error. It shows you that he's not the kind of experienced broadcasting professional such as myself, a man who knows full well to leave his cups of tea perhaps on a windowsill or tucked away in an outer room, but it's very, very slovenly. Of course, it also helps that I don't actually press any of the buttons, and I'm just sat here in my large BAFTA-winning throne. People bring me cups of tea, and in one of those kind of baby style, those things you give babies in tea in. So, well, give a baby tea, that would be madness, unless they like tea. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, good luck to him. So I just wanted to explain why if I've sounded a bit grumpy at any point, or if because there's a certain kind of oppressive in this room because it's a bit tiny,
very cramped.
It's very cramped, and it's a bit muggy. Is that the right word?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Close.
It's a bit close, yeah, and so yeah, there's frustration seeping through my veins as we speak. In fact, the last time I remember we came in here, how you remember it was when the desk just blew up spontaneously.
No, I wasn't there that
Oh, you
week.
weren't there for
No,
that?
I was in
was-
Australia.
Yeah, you remember that? Yeah, it was just.
It's terrifying. You sat there rather placidly, like some sort of Buddha, kind of rising above the waves, as people ran around going with steam coming out of their ears, and you were kind of sitting there waiting for someone to tell you what to
I'm
do.
afraid that I'd like to think that was the kind of sort of thing I'd do if I was on the Titanic. It was actually because of my sort of celebrity complacency.
Yeah.
I just expected two men would come and lift me up
in a sedan chair
into the next room.
Yeah.
But yes. Anyway, but Rufus, we were talking earlier about Sammy and her adventures last night. That's no doubt the most interesting thing that's happened to her this week. If you've missed it, then I should use the listen again feature. We can't possibly go through it again. It's too complicated. Rufus, what's the most interesting thing that's happened to you this week?
Oh, Steve, I was waiting for something interesting to happen to me for the last 14 days because I missed last week's show, as you'll know. And this morning, I was asked as a favour for a friend of mine who's directing a short film to go and help her audition some people for the film she's directing. These people were all little girls.
Right.
So I spent the morning from about 10:30 to 2 o'clock this afternoon auditioning nearly 60
Goodness
children between the ages of 4 and 9.
Jeez.
Which was really, really strange.
Yeah.
I've never really worked with children. You've done a little bit with work. Have you worked with children on
Very
extras?
briefly, yes.
Yeah.
Very briefly, yeah.
Very
He was a very
strange.
good kid when we worked with.
Yeah. It's a very strange thing to do, and plus I had to improvise with them. So I had to do a couple of improvs with them, with these 5-6-year-olds. And I got quite nervous, and a few of them cried a little bit, and it all got a bit difficult. My friend Harry, the director, tried to cheer two of them up, because she came in and said, "Oh, you look, are you sisters?" To two of them. They're identical twins.
Right.
Okay,
right.
so there was a little bit of a pause while I looked at her thinking, come on, you've got to do a bit better than that.
yeah.
Are you sisters? And the most embarrassing part was that I had to do some improv where I had to say, "Come on, we're going to the beach." And the little 5-year-old girl had to say, "I don't want to go. I want to be with Mummy. I want to stay with Mummy." "No, you're coming to the beach with me." "No, I want to stay with Mummy." So bearing in mind this was on film, I've got filmed evidence of me now trying to hold the hands of 50 5-year-old girls saying, "Come with me to the beach." "No, I want to stay here with Mummy."
So if that creeps its way onto YouTube at any point,
Yeah, then I'm going to be in hot water.
you are indeed.
Yes.
You are indeed.
Yeah.
When we worked with a child on extras, what I find is I don't have any understanding of kind of what level of intelligence they have. I don't know what they understand, what they don't, so I find it incredibly difficult to talk to them. So I start off deeply patronising. "Hello, all right, how are you doing?" And they sort of look at you like, "Well, I'm 6 now, and no one talks to me like that." But then I'll say something like, but obviously what we're trying to do here is create a sort of atmosphere of kind of alienation, and by that point they've just started crying or weed themselves.
The tall man said aliens.
Yeah, exactly. So I've no idea. I don't know how you cope, because I've got no idea. I can't even remember what I knew at different ages. To me, my childhood is just one big sort of sludge until about sort of 15 or 16, when I was quite the man.
Yeah. I've got to say for you as well, because you're quite a lot taller than most adults. You're also a hell of a lot taller than all children.
Yes, which
So obviously-
sometimes does just freak them out.
Yeah, because getting down to eye level is one of the first things you do with a child. Obviously,
Yeah.
it's just lower and eyes lock at level. But you're going to have to get down on your belly
Yes.
to kind of get to eye level with some of these children.
And I'm not gonna stoop for any actor,
No, exactly.
child or otherwise.
Yeah.
So it's tricky, but good luck with that then.
Thanks.
So, particularly if you become a big sort of movie star.
Yeah.
That could come
That's
back
going to
to haunt you.
backfire big time. I only got a sandwich and a bottle of Tropicana for it as well, no cash.
Waste of time.
Yeah.
Well, I would talk more fully about your experiences with children, but we have to hear a tune, and each week, of course, my guests choose a song. That's very much why they're here. And Sammy, I believe you're up first.
Oh, I was off on a daze that. Yes, I certainly
Thanks.
am.
I'm glad to see you're it's good to know that if you're dozing off, then who knows what the listener's doing.
I wasn't dozing off. I was thinking about Rufus and these small girls. Anyway, aside from that, this is a song by a band called Alabama 3.
Of course.
The reason I've picked this song is this is the last band that my dad introduced me to, and this being Father's Day, I'd like to dedicate the song to him because his present was tickets to see this band.
Oh, that's very sweet. And what's the name of the song?
This is Hypo Full of Love.
The Steve Show, BBC 6 Music, playing Alabama 3, Hypo Full of Love. It's the choice of Sammy on this week's show, and it's new shortly, but I just thought I'd flag up, if you get into a position, Rufus, you're an actor, maybe you'll find yourself in the situation when you win some kind of banking award.
Yeah, I can imagine
Harry.
I will.
But maybe Sammy, you're getting some kind of Northerner of the Year. I'm assuming that they do that. But you've got to be careful what you say in interviews. And when jokes go wrong, number one, after the BAFTAs I failed to win, I was asked by Heat magazine what do I do normally when I'm sat in front of the television, and I thought I'd be a bit facetious, and I jokingly said normally what I'm doing is just filling out lots of standing orders to various charities, right? Flipping. And so they print that in the magazine. Ooh, when jokes go wrong.
Oh.
Scope have been in touch. They've said, we read what you said, and maybe you'd like to donate substantially to Scope. They've already sent the form.
They've very much called your bluff,
They've
haven't they?
very much called my bluff. And as you know, I'm a man who likes to give to charity, chiefly because I hope one day to get an OBE. I'm wondering, it's like, if I do enough standing orders of £5 a time, will eventually it float up to the upper echelons of the government, and they go, he's got upwards of £25 a year going out to various charities.
That's the thing, though. You look at Botham, who's just been made a knight. He couldn't be the best cricket player ever. He had to walk around with elephants and stuff before they'd give him something.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think you're going along the right lines.
Well, I've started this week. I've been to a couple of charity events, and I have got one eye on the OBE. But the truth being that actually I wouldn't accept it. I'd give it back because I wouldn't accept the OBE because obviously I see it as it's very divisive. It's part of an old sort of imperial notion. But I'd like to be able to be invited to the palace, if only to flick the sword during my knighthood off my shoulders. No,